Greetings, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ellie. Before I proceed, I want to provide a cautionary notice as my story contains instances of mistreatment. I won't delve into extensive details, but I will mention some occurrences to illustrate the challenges I faced due to my difficult mother-in-law. I still limit the day I married my now ex-husband, Jake. Initially, I believed he was a decent man, hailing from a well-regarded family. His mother, Chrissy, worked at a charitable organization, dedicating herself to helping others. His father, Xavier, was a devoted businessman who ensured his family lacked nothing. On the whole, they appeared to be a wonderful family, and anyone would have been delighted to be a part of it. At first, I too was content to be a member of their family. However, everything changed after I married Jake. My mother-in-law, Chrissy, began subjecting me to abuse. You see, Chrissy gradually started engaging in actions to harm me and exert emotional control over me. It began with her taking my glasses, phone, and purse, hiding them so I couldn't find them. She would then derive amusement from watching me anxiously search for them. Additionally, she would insist that I carry scalding hot pots that would inevitably burn me. On one occasion, she even added shrimp juice to her chicken casserole, knowing I had an allergic reaction to it, causing me to miss an important event. She would make me cook for hours, only to deliberately dump everything on the floor. She continued to engage in such behavior, always claiming it was accidental or denying any responsibility. In fact, she even deliberately deceived me during a family gathering. Why? To humiliate me and make others laugh at my expense. After enduring this treatment for months, I confronted Chrissy and sought assistance from my spouse. I told her, "You must explain to me why you are behaving this way, Chrissy. I am exhausted from your actions. I am aware that you are intentionally trying to harm and humiliate me." "What are you talking about, Ellie? How can you casually accuse me of such a thing? Goodness, are you envious of me or something? Why on earth would I envy someone like you, Chrissy? You are completely unstable. You have no valid reason for your actions. You simply derive pleasure from causing me pain. Goodness, Ellie, you need to stop being so theatrical. Don't create an unnecessary scene. My mother is a respected woman who works for a charitable organization. She is the last person who would harm you." I was alarmed by my husband's indifferent response to the abuse I was experiencing. Granted, Chrissy did conceal her actions and pretend to be innocent, but Jake was aware of the tampered food and deliberately moving my belongings. I was taken aback that he was blaming me for accusing his mother. I was horrified by his words. I told him, "Jake, you must address your mother's behavior. What she has been doing to me borders on abuse. You witnessed how she intentionally prepares food with ingredients I am allergic to. She knows I will suffer if I consume it, and she doesn't even inform me about it. You are being absurd, Ellie. Mom would never in your mind take action like that. Everything is in your thoughts. My mother has been telling me that you are losing your sanity due to being envious of her. I can perceive what is occurring. What on earth? Jake, you are aware that your mother has been tampering with my meals and adding allergens to them. You know much more than that as well. Yet you still want to support her? It perplexed me why Jake was acting like such a pushover and completely ignoring my words about his mother. He was never like that. He loved me and cared for me, but now it seemed like he didn't care about me at all. I felt as if I were struck by a sudden shock. I gazed at him in astonishment, trying to comprehend why he was behaving in such a manner. That was when his mother stated, "Jake, your wife is exceeding all limits. If she continues this behavior, we may need to evict her." I always knew she was unworthy of our family, and now she is proving it. If you want to support your wife, you can leave as well. That will assist us in making a better decision regarding your inheritance. Mom, I understand that Ellie is acting irrational right now. I do not support her at all. I promise she will behave herself. I will ensure it. If she doesn't, you can kick her out. I won't mind. I always knew you were the rational one, Jake. Thank goodness you can see beyond this insane woman. I cannot believe what a terrible woman she is, blaming me for her clumsiness and accusing me of being abusive. Leave her alone, Mom. Don't worry, I am on your side. She will come to her senses once I have a proper conversation with her. I then understood why, despite everything, Jake and I were at odds. We resided with his parents as per their wishes. Jake was employed at Xavier's Corporation and relied entirely on his father for income. While he did contribute assets such as land and office complexes, he did not possess a house of his own. He desired his father's assets and didn't want to upset his mother for the same reason. Yes, my spouse was a greedy and self-centered individual. Sapphire often traveled for business, so he was unaware of what was happening in his own home. Even I didn't anticipate that my own husband would refuse to support me. When we were alone, he questioned, "What is the matter with you, Ellie? Are you intentionally trying to get us evicted? Seriously, Jake? Is that all you have to say after I informed you about your mother's mistreatment? What kind of husband are you? The type that knows how to secure his own future. You're delusional, Ellie. You can't simply expect me to accuse my mother of such things. Furthermore, by involving me in your problems, what if she becomes angry with me? Do you think she will allow Dad to give me my entire inheritance? If she becomes angry with me, do you believe she will let Dad provide me with my full inheritance? Is your inheritance more important than your wife, Jake? We don't require anything. Let's depart and purchase our own house. We can afford it. It may be smaller than this current place, but it will be ours. No one can mistreat me there. Oh, please, Ellie. We can only dream of ever acquiring a house like this. I am not going anywhere. You will tolerate my mother and cease expressing their dissatisfaction. If you refuse, I am certain that my mother will evict you. Do not come to me for help later because I will not assist you." And that was the moment when I realized that my marriage had reached its end. Jake betrayed me in the most terrible manner imaginable. He was not the man I believed him to be. I felt powerless and unsure of what to do. Chrissy seemed to escalate her abusive behavior after receiving confirmation that Jake would not object. I felt completely lost. I had the desire to escape and leave everything behind, but I did not act upon it. I was determined not to let Chrissy get away with her mistreatment. I devised a plan. I decided to expose her. I wanted to ensure that everyone knew exactly how wicked Chrissy truly was. My plan was straightforward. I covertly accessed the security cameras around the house and collected all the recorded footage. I discovered ample evidence of Chrissy's abuse towards me. I compiled a video showcasing the evidence and saved it for a significant occasion. Chrissy's birthday was approaching, and we had invited a few guests for a small gathering. Xavier would also be in attendance. That would be my decisive day. The countdown had commenced. I was determined to ruin Chrissy. On the day of Chrissy's birthday, she behaved as her usual cheerful self. She portrayed herself as the sophisticated and caring woman she was known to be. Surprisingly, she even treated me well, possibly due to the presence of other people. I remained silent and played along. After the birthday cake was cut, I stood up and made an announcement. I expressed my gratitude to everyone for their presence. Today, I am here to commemorate my beloved mother-in-law, Chrissy. I am confident that you are already aware of the kind and compassionate nature of our birthday celebrant. Instead of delving into the specifics of her admirable actions, as many of you are already familiar with them, I thought it would be fitting on Chrissy's special day to provide a glimpse into the exceptional character of my dear mother-in-law. As you can observe, I have arranged a screen to showcase a heartfelt video that I have created in honor of my remarkable mother-in-law. Without further ado, I invite you all to view this dedicated video and extend your well wishes to our beloved birthday girl. I proceed to play the video, fully prepared for any unforeseen circumstances. In fact, I had a group of friends on standby, ready to assist me if anything were to go awry. After enduring years of mistreatment at the hands of my challenging mother-in-law, I reached a point where I could no longer be a pushover. I decided to stand up against her and reveal her deceitful nature to everyone. I no longer cared about the consequences, whether it was for my mother-in-law or even my husband. I had reached my breaking point. As the video played, showcasing the meticulous compilation of footage I had gathered over the past few months, the audience was appalled and left speechless. Chrissy and Jake, my husband, stood in a corner, overwhelmed with shock. Xavier, their father, contemplated their reaction. I didn't blame him. He had been away for days and had no inkling of what was happening. When the video came to an end, it was actually my father-in-law who spoke first. He exclaimed, "What on earth did I just witness, Chrissy?" "Xavier, this isn't what it seems," she said. "I just witnessed something unbelievable, Xavier. It's not what it seems, I promise. These videos have been manipulated and taken out of context." "Really, Chrissy? They seem pretty genuine to me. Are you suggesting that my daughter-in-law went to the trouble of creating fake videos just to humiliate you?" "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Xavier. Ellie did this out of spite. I have no idea how she managed to alter those videos. I would never stoop to such a level." Chrissy's casual lies were starting to frustrate me. She wanted everyone to believe that the year of abuse she claimed was all a fabrication on my part. I couldn't understand how she expected people to still trust her after I had recorded a complete video of her behavior. Calmly, I responded, "So now you're trying to blame me for tarnishing your reputation, Chrissy? Let's do one thing then. Let's involve the authorities and let them determine if the videos are genuine or not." "What nonsense, Ellie. The police won't waste their time listening to a deceitful person like you." "Are you certain about that, Chrissy? Are you oblivious to the fact that your actions are clearly illegal? Let's call the police and find out." Chrissy appeared more alarmed by my statement. She never anticipated that I would put her in such a predicament. Not only had I exposed her to her own family, but I had also threatened to involve the authorities. This was something she had never imagined in her wildest dreams. Her family, too, was quite upset by what they had witnessed. By sheer luck, I discovered that some of Chrissy's friends were also present at the gathering. Friends who the charitable foundation to which Chrissy was affiliated. They were already giving her disapproving looks while using their mobile phone. I assumed they were informing their work superiors about what they witnessed at the party, but Chrissy was unaware of this. She was preoccupied with trying to convince Xavier that she was being falsely accused. She said to him, "Xavier, do you hear her? She's threatening to involve the authorities in my situation. Ellie is threatening to get me into trouble. I'm telling you, she's delusional." Jake will agree with me. Right, Jake? Care to explain what you were doing when your own spouse was mistreated in my home? Father, it's not as serious as it appears, Father. Ellie is making a fuss over nothing. Mother is a caring mother-in-law. Seriously, Jake, do you believe this is how a caring mother-in-law behaves? Are you out of your mind? You were still defending your mother, even after I presented you with evidence that I was telling the truth. Wait a moment, Ellie, you informed Jake about the abuse, and he didn't take any action. I was relieved when Xavier noticed that part, as did everyone else. They hadn't anticipated that my husband would be aware of the entire situation and not protect his spouse. His beloved spouse, whom he married out of love. No, his father's wealth and the opportunity to live in a grand mansion meant more to him than his own spouse. He didn't want to upset his mother and jeopardize his inheritance, but he failed to remember that his father didn't share his misguided beliefs. Xavier was a man of principles and values, which also meant that he wasn't taking my mistreatment lightly. As I had predicted, Xavier would be the person to assist me in seeking retribution against Chrissy. He was livid when I expressed my thoughts. I informed Jake about the mistreatment from Xavier. He refused to believe me. He always insisted that I was exaggerating and falsely accusing Chrissy. He informed me that he wouldn't risk staying in this residence by upsetting Chrissy. And why didn't you approach me earlier, Ellie? I needed to gather evidence and demonstrate to everyone what a despicable person Chrissy is. From Jake's reaction, it became evident to me that I required evidence to prove that I was being mistreated. Otherwise, no one would trust me or offer assistance. We all have faith in you, Ellie. I deeply apologize for this unfortunate incident. I am sorry for failing to raise my son properly. Ellie, as for Chrissy, I am at a loss for words. You can report her to the authorities. I won't intervene. What, Savior? How could you say that to her? You'll allow her to report your own wife to the police? My life will be ruined, Savior. Our reputation will be ruined. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. We don't need to involve the police. We are family. Ellie is insignificant. You can't think clearly. We don't need to involve the police. We are family. Ellie is insignificant. You can't support this. Silence. Both of you. After what you have done, you have no authority to dictate how I should or shouldn't behave, and don't refer to me as family. Abusers and those who enable them can never be considered my family. As for my reputation, it will remain untarnished. I will divorce Chrissy and disown Jake as soon as possible. I will have no association with individuals like you, who are akin to monsters. Chrissy and Jake were taken aback by the news. They hadn't anticipated Xavier's decision. As always, they believed they could manipulate the narrative to portray me as the villain, but this time no one bought into their lies. The crowd's enthusiastic response to Xavier's declaration made it clear. Chrissy's friends had already left, showing their support for me and vowing to make Chrissy face the consequences of her actions in their own way. They didn't even bother talking to Chrissy, who was preoccupied dealing with her furious husband. Chrissy and Jake pleaded with Xavier, saying, "Xavier, you're not thinking clearly. You can't simply dismiss this based on Ellie's word. She has evidence to back up her claims, Chrissy. She didn't just tell me the truth, she showed it to me. Unlike our spineless son here, I actually intend to do what's right by Ellie. Dad, I'm sorry. I should have listened to Ellie. Believe me, Dad, I had no idea Mom was really—" "That's nonsense, Jake. I presented you with evidence before, but you did nothing. You didn't want to risk your inheritance. I don't even know what I ever saw in you. It's ironic that your father cares more about me than you. Xavier, if you hadn't supported me today, I don't know what I would have done. I wholeheartedly support you, Ellie. My foolish son doesn't deserve you, and he certainly doesn't deserve the inheritance he so desperately wants. It's only fitting that I disinherit him now. Dad, no, you can't do this to me. Dad, I'm your son. Don't call me Dad, Jake. I don't wish to hear that from you. I am finished being an automated teller machine for two unproductive individuals who are nothing but a burden on this planet. Jake, since you have become as greedy and insincere as your mother, you can accompany her after our separation. You will no longer have a place to call home here. You're not sincere about this, Xavier. You were saying this solely to harm me. I know that you won't divorce me. We have been together for nearly 3 decades. You won't do this to me. Yes, we have been together for almost 3 decades, but I had no clue that my own spouse could be such a despicable and monstrous individual. After witnessing what I did today, I have no desire to be anywhere near you, let alone remain married to you." Chrissy stood frozen, as if struck by lightning. Jake was already in tears and repeatedly apologizing to Xavier. Yet I received no apology. It was rather amusing how today's incident revealed where Chrissy and Jake's priorities truly lie. They only cared about money and reputation. They didn't care that they mistreated someone and allowed it to continue for a year. I was utterly disgusted with the useless man whom I once referred to as my husband. He was more upset about the news of being disinherited than hearing that his own wife was being abused. It was pathetic. Chrissy now resumed her crying and begged for forgiveness. Not to me, of course. She pleaded with Xavier. "Xavier, I know I made a mistake. but I swear it will never happen again. Please don't take such a drastic step without considering it thoroughly. I am your wife. Can't you forgive me just this once? Mom is right, Dad. We acknowledge that we messed up. However, we will compensate for our actions. We feel ashamed of ourselves. This incident will serve as a wake-up call for me as well. Please do not abandon us due to this single mistake. I ask for your forgiveness this time. Both of you have the audacity to request forgiveness. You didn't even apologize to the main victim here, Ellie. You are apologizing to me because I have the authority to cause financial ruin and homelessness for you. Never have you shown any remorse or offered apologies to Ellie for your terrible deeds. So Xavier noticed the same thing that I did. He observed how they disregarded me and prioritized Xavier instead. He understood that they didn't want to end up living on the streets after experiencing a life like that. Once Xavier pointed out this irony, Chrissy and Jake began bombarding me with their apologies. It was so insincere and desperate that it only angered everyone further. I distanced myself from them, fearing that their presence would contaminate me. I wanted those monsters nowhere near me anymore. I told them not to bother with their fake apologies any longer. I know that they are only sorry because they were caught and are now facing the consequences. I am not the submissive person who joined this family a year ago. I see through their deceitful facades. Ellie, please reconsider your decision. We made an error in judgment. I should have protected you. I deeply regret my failure to do so. We care for each other. We can move past this if we try to forgive one another. We are a family, Ellie. Yes, Ellie dear, we are indeed family. I apologize for being a terrible mother-in-law. I will seek help and strive to improve. I promise that I will never repeat these actions. Once again, I find myself in this situation. If you can find it in your heart to forgive us, we can return to being the ideal family we once were. I chuckled, my friends. I laughed when Chrissy and Jake expressed their thoughts. It was quite amusing that they referred to it as the perfect family. I am unaware of any flawless family that mistreats their daughter-in-law. I am unaware of any model husband who allows his own mother to torment his wife. I am unaware of any model husband who allows his own mother to torment his wife. Their insincere apologies seemed like mere jokes to me at this point. I must admit, there was a sense of power in having them beg for forgiveness, knowing that my decision would negatively impact and alter their lives. I offered them a slight smile and stated, "You must be delusional if you believe I consider you family. You are nothing but parasites. Your attempt at apologizing is solely motivated by self-interest. Well, guess what? I do not forgive you. You are not my family." Before you even bring up the fact that you are married, Jake, let me clarify. I will be divorcing you once and for all. No, Ellie, please listen to me. I did what I did to protect us. I wanted to secure our future. I love you. You allowed your mother to torment me because you wanted to ensure our financial stability. I repeatedly told you that we do not need your parents' money. I wanted us to find our own place and escape from your malevolent mother, but you chose greed over everything. Well, it has all amounted to nothing. I will be removing him from our inheritance, whether he likes it or not. Even if you decide to take him back, Ellie, I will not be no longer having him around. He can go away to where his mother goes. I am resolute in my decision too, Xavier. Jake, we are finished. You are getting a separation, and I will be pursuing half of your possessions. You will pay for enabling your mother. Jake and Chrissy couldn't say anything more. They kept crying and saying sorry repeatedly. You can envision my satisfaction with this circumstance. I genuinely got my revenge and protected myself. I called my companions who gathered my belongings and transported me to their home. Jake attempted to stop me, but with one stern word from Xavier, he became silent very quickly. I didn't even look at Chrissy because I wanted to forget her unpleasant face as soon as possible. I didn't report the video to the police. With Xavier divorcing Chrissy and Jake being disinherited, I didn't need to spend money on attorneys to get them penalized. They were in serious trouble anyway. Xavier kicked them both out of the house. They came pleading to my friend's place to try and stay with me. Xavier had an ironclad prenuptial agreement, which meant Chrissy wasn't receiving any money from him. As I mentioned, her friends from the charitable organization exposed her identity to everyone at work and got her fired. As for Jake, his job at his father's company was gone, and so were his dreams of receiving a substantial inheritance. Now their only sanctuary was me, who had both a job and money. Chrissy was so shameless that she thought I would assist her because, in her words, I was family. Well, I promptly kicked them out and frightened them with the after receiving a restraining order. I managed to find my own place and settle in. I was renting a place while waiting for my divorce to be finalized. Jake had a few assets that were clearly going to be divided between us. He didn't have a prenuptial agreement because he believed I wouldn't have the strength to leave him. Now, I can't help but shudder at the thought that he could have easily become abusive like his mother if I had stayed longer. However, I did manage to purchase a small apartment after the divorce was completed. Jake gave in easily because I threatened to report him to the police with the abuse videos. Zofia also did the same and had a smooth divorce. Jake ended up working 2 jobs to support his unemployed mother. At one point, he reached out to me to complain about how miserable his mother was making him and expressed a desire to come back to me. I couldn't help but laugh in his face and told him to enjoy his new life before hanging up. It was a long journey of revenge for me, even though I eventually stopped taking any action. Currently, I am living a good life, as is Xavier, but Jake and Chrissy are experiencing the consequences of their actions and facing a healthy dose of karma.